beautiful woman who took the lives of her whole family in 20 days for this reason. In the quiet district of Gadchiroli, Maharashtra, a baffling tragedy unfolds within the Kumbar family, leaving a community in shock. Dive into this Reddit story as we delve into the mysterious deaths that claimed 5 family members in just 3 weeks. Hit the subscribe button and give us a like to discover more about the twists and turns of this case, the intense investigation, and the chilling outcome that revealed a dark side to what appeared to be a perfect family life. Stay tuned as we piece together how deep-seated emotions and hidden secrets led to a devastating series of events. On September 26th, 2023, an eerie calamity unfolded in Maharashtra's Gadchiroli district, deeply affecting the Kumburi family. Without warning, one family member tragically died under mysterious circumstances. The cause of death remained unclear, plunging the family and locals into confusion and fear. This marked the beginning of a harrowing period for the Kumburi family. Within a mere 20 days, a disturbing pattern emerged as 5 individuals closely linked to the family perished one by one. Each death was as baffling as the last, weaving a tapestry of grief and unanswered questions. This sequence of events casts a dark shadow over the Kumburi family, revealing a chilling mystery that needed urgent unraveling. Shankar Kumburi, the family patriarch, had led a serene and fulfilling life. His 4 children were all happily married and thriving independently. Shankar's eldest son, Sagar, had made a home for himself in Delhi, while his daughter Komal resided in the neighboring village of Gadi. His other daughter, Varsha, and youngest son, Roshan, stayed close by in Gadchiroli, maintaining strong familial ties. Externally, the Kumburi family was the epitome of harmony and closeness. Their strong, supportive nature was well regarded in the community, and they enjoyed an impeccable reputation. Yet, the unfolding events would soon reveal that appearances can be deceiving, exposing hidden depths to their seemingly ideal existence. The mystery deepened on the morning of September 20th, when Shankar and his wife Vijaya awoke with severe symptoms. They suffered from high fevers and excruciating lower back pain, and alarmingly, their lips had turned a disturbing shade of black. It was evident that something was gravely wrong. Panicked, the family rushed Shankar and Vijaya to the nearest medical facility in the small tehsil of Harry. Unfortunately, the local hospital's resources were inadequate, lacking the sophisticated equipment needed for serious medical conditions. Despite the medical staff's best efforts, the couple's health showed no signs of improvement. In a desperate bid to save his parents, Roshan, along with the family driver Rakesh Madhavi, decided to transport them to a better-equipped hospital in Chandrapur. The urgency of the situation was palpable, and every second counted as they embarked on this critical journey. By the evening, Shankar and Vijaya finally arrived at the hospital in Chandrapur. Initially, their admission offered a glimmer of hope. There was a brief period when their conditions appeared to stabilize, providing a small sigh of relief for their anxious family. However, this respite was fleeting. As night fell, their situation deteriorated dramatically, signaling the start of a grueling ordeal. The severity of their conditions necessitated another urgent transfer, this time to a major hospital in Nagpur. The Kumburi family clung to hope, praying for a turnaround that might defy the grim circumstances. Despite the advanced care they received, the couple's health continued to decline. On September 26th, Shankar succumbed to his mysterious illness, deeply shaking the family and their close-knit community. Tragically, just a day after Shankar's death, Vijaya also passed away, leaving everyone reeling from the rapid succession of losses. The community, who knew them as a vibrant and healthy couple, struggled to grasp the reality of these sudden deaths. The fact that neither had suffered from any serious prior illnesses only deepened the shock and confusion surrounding their demise. Back in Gadchiroli, preparations for their funerals began amid profound grief. Sagar, along with his sisters Varsha and Komal, returned home to support the bereaved family. United in sorrow, they conducted the last rites, trying to find solace amidst the pain of their parents' inexplicable deaths. However, just as the family started to process their grief, another calamity struck. Following the traditional 13-day mourning period, a horrifying pattern reemerged. Roshan, Komal, and Varsha suddenly exhibited symptoms identical to those that had afflicted their parents. Severe fevers and debilitating back pain swept through them, plunging the family back into fear and uncertainty. The sickness that ravaged the siblings mirrored the terrifying ordeal their parents had endured. Days filled with frantic medical interventions ensued, yet the mysterious illness showed no signs of abating. Despite exhaustive efforts by the doctors, Komal, the first of the siblings to fall ill, tragically passed away on October 8th, further compounding the family's anguish. Just days later, the tragedy deepened as Varsha too succumbed to the same mysterious illness on October 14th. The following day, in another devastating blow, Roshan passed away. Within the span of 3 short weeks, the Kumbara family lost 5 of its members, casting a dark shadow over the village. The community, once vibrant and close-knit, was now grappling with grief and disbelief. The exact cause of these sudden and baffling deaths remained a haunting mystery that no one could unravel. This enigmatic illness seemed to selectively and mercilessly target the Kumbare family, leaving the entire village engulfed in confusion and mourning. Amidst the growing fear, rumors rapidly circulated among the villagers. Many speculated that a highly contagious disease was to blame, prompting a wave of fear that led many to keep their distance and even avoid the family's funerals. Such speculations were fueled by fear rather than fact, with the true cause of the tragedies that struck the Kumbare family still unknown. As word of the calamitous events reached the Gadchiroli police station, even law enforcement officers were stunned by the severity and rapid succession of the deaths. The notion of 5 family members dying in such a condensed time frame was almost beyond belief, yet the grim reality of the situation demanded action. With the community in turmoil, the superintendent of police in Gadchiroli, none of the family members had any documented history of cardiac issues or other illnesses that could lead to such swift and catastrophic outcomes. The peculiar pattern of these fatalities, all within one household, prompted further scrutiny. As the case grew more complex, the police turned to medical specialists in search of answers, but even the experts were baffled and unable to provide a definitive explanation. Amid the investigative chaos, a peculiar detail caught the attention of both the police and the medical team. All the deceased had slightly blackened lips. This minor yet unusual sign was not typical for heart failure or organ failure cases and was conspicuously out of place. No evidence of foul play or any infectious disease was apparent from the autopsies, yet the consistency in the symptoms and outcomes across different ages and healthy individuals hinted at an underlying link. This anomaly was enough to warrant a deeper investigation, as it suggested that the deaths were not isolated incidents, but possibly connected by an unknown factor. Recognizing the gravity of the situation, the Gadchiroli police were determined not to dismiss the case as a series of natural deaths. They resolved to investigate every possible angle, starting with interviews of the remaining family members who could provide further insights or observations. The police decided to visit the Kumbare household, which was still reeling under immense grief. Upon arrival, they encountered a somber environment with the weight of loss palpable in the air. The officers approached their task with sensitivity, aware of the family's profound sorrow, but also mindful of the need to gather crucial information. During their visit, the police initially focused on offering condolences and gently probing for any unusual occurrences or behaviors leading up to the deaths. As they spoke with the grieving family, the officers paid close attention to the surroundings and the interactions, hoping to catch any detail that might have been overlooked. As the investigation continued in this fraught atmosphere, something peculiar in the household's dynamics caught the eye of one observant officer, adding another layer of complexity to an already mystifying case. Amid the pervasive grief that enveloped the Kumbare household, one figure stood out starkly to the investigating officers, the daughter-in-law, Sangha Mitra. Unlike the rest of her family, Sangha appeared unusually composed, her demeanor strikingly calm amidst the sorrow that had befallen her in-laws. This detachment from the collective mourning did not go unnoticed, and her emotional dissonance with the situation raised the first red flags for the police. Her state of health further compounded the officers' suspicions. While other family members succumbed one by one to a mysterious ailment, Sangha remained conspicuously healthy. This anomaly prompted the police to question whether the cause of the deaths was a contagious disease or something more insidious, perhaps even tied to supernatural elements or obscure rituals, considering the unusual symptoms like the blackened lips. The fact that Sangha was seemingly unaffected by whatever was afflicting her family members puzzled the officers and led them to speculate that there might be more to her story than met the eye. This prompted a deeper investigation into her background, approached with caution given the delicate nature of the family's recent losses. The police began their discreet inquiry into Sanga's past, digging into her educational and personal history to uncover any potential motives or means that might explain the current events. What they discovered added a new layer of intrigue to the investigation. Sangha Mitra had excelled academically at an agricultural university where she was valedictorian of her class. Her studies had encompassed a range of subjects relevant to agriculture, including plant protection and the use of various pesticides and toxins. Knowledge in these areas could certainly include familiarity with substances that, while typically used for pest control, could be repurposed with malicious intent. Given her expertise, the police speculated that Sangha might possess advanced knowledge about poisons, particularly those that could cause symptoms and results like those seen in the deceased members of the Kumbari family. These poisons could be difficult to detect, potentially explaining why the autopsies had not immediately indicated poisoning as the cause of death. This line of reasoning led the police to consider the possibility that Sangha could have had both the means and the knowledge to administer substances that would not easily be traced. As the investigation progressed, the focus on Sangha intensified. The police were cautious yet determined to unravel the truth behind the tragic deaths that had devastated the Kumbari family, suspecting that the answer might lie closer to home than anyone had initially thought. This twist in the investigation brought forth a crucial question. Could Sangha Mitra, an educated and seemingly normal woman, be behind the mysterious deaths that had shattered the Kumbari family? As detectives reevaluated the case with this new perspective, it seemed as though they had stumbled upon a vital clue that might explain the unsettling pattern of fatalities. The police decided to delve further into Sangha's past to piece together how she had integrated into the Kumbari family. What they uncovered was a tale marked by romance, societal pressures, and tragic outcomes. Sangha had excelled academically, graduating at the top of her class, and during her university years, she fell in love with Roshan, a fellow student. However, their union was fraught with challenges due to caste differences and the expectations of their respective communities. While Shankar and his family welcomed the marriage, Sangha's parents were vehemently opposed. They felt a profound sense of betrayal and dishonor over her decision, which clashed with their traditional views. Unable to cope with their daughter's defiance and the resulting societal backlash, Sangha's parents were driven to despair, ultimately taking their own lives. The news of her parents' suicide devastated Sangha, filling her with remorse and doubt over her choices. This event forced her to confront the painful reality of the consequences her marriage had wrought. Trapped between her past and present, she grappled with whether she had made an irrevocable mistake in marrying Roshan against her parents' wishes. Adjusting to life in her new home proved to be another Herculean task for Sangha. The transition from an independent lifestyle to the confines of traditional in-law expectations was jarring. She struggled to adapt to the new family dynamics, customs, and the rigid expectations that now framed her daily existence. Sangha found herself frequently at odds with her in-laws, who criticized and taunted her over trivial matters, adding to the strain of her new life. Moreover, Roshan, the man she had loved and for whom she had sacrificed so much, began to change. The once kind and loving partner became abusive, exacerbating her isolation and misery. Sangha's dream of a loving marital life had turned into a nightmare of loneliness and maltreatment. Through these revelations, Sangha Mitra emerged not just as a suspect in a mysterious case of multiple deaths, but as a woman caught in a web of personal torment and societal pressures, leading to a life far removed from the one she had envisioned. The police, now armed with this deeper understanding of her background and current predicaments, continued their investigation with a nuanced view of the potential motives and pressures that might have led to the tragic events within the Kumbari family. The cumulative weight of her personal tragedies left Sangha Mitra burdened with deep-seated anger and resentment. Her father's suicide, a direct consequence of her marital choices, profoundly impacted her, intensifying her feelings of entrapment within a life that had once held the promise of love and fulfillment. Her dream had morphed into a relentless nightmare, each aspect of her new life reminding her of what she had irrevocably lost: her parents, her freedom, and her former happiness. Now she faced only pain and alienation in return. As time passed, these emotional wounds began to alter Sangha Mitra's personality. She grew increasingly distant and cold, enveloped by a bitterness that seemed to intensify with each passing day. Her mind, filled with frustration and despair, gradually began veering toward a darker, more vindictive path. It was in this state of turmoil that Sanghamitra started to harbor thoughts of retribution, convinced that the only way to appease her parents' spirits was to exact punishment on those she blamed for her suffering. This transformation in Sanga's outlook set the stage for another character to influence her further into darkness. Her maternal aunt, Roja Ramteke, entered her life at a critical juncture. Roja was connected to the family not just by blood, but also through ongoing conflicts. She was embroiled in a bitter land dispute with Sanga's in-laws. Known for her manipulative tendencies, Roja saw her niece's vulnerable state as an opportunity to exploit. Roja, who was also the maternal aunt of Roshan and married to Vijaya's brother, thus had intricate ties to both sides of the family feud. She approached Sangha under the guise of offering support and sympathy during her time of profound distress. However, Roja's intentions were far from benevolent. Rather than aiding her niece in healing, she began to manipulate Sangha, fanning the flames of anger and resentment already burning within her. Overwhelmed by her circumstances and desperate for an escape, Sangha confided in her aunt about the depths of her despair since marrying into the Kambari family. She expressed a chilling desire for freedom, which she saw as achievable only through the elimination of those around her. "The only way I can be free is by getting rid of everyone," she admitted in a moment of vulnerability. Seizing on these words, Roja perceived an opportunity not only to influence her niece, but also to advance her own agenda regarding the land dispute. She encouraged Sangha's destructive thoughts, pushing her toward a drastic course of action. Together, they began to craft a sinister plan that would target the entire Kambare family. Leveraging her academic background in agriculture, Sangha selected a poison that was both odorless and colorless, making it virtually undetectable when introduced into food or water. This choice reflected her sophisticated understanding of chemicals and toxins, knowledge that enabled her to execute a plan that would leave no obvious traces and stymie medical investigations. This partnership between Sangha and her aunt Roja thus evolved into a deadly alliance, driven by a blend of personal vendetta and strategic manipulation. Their plot, rooted in deep-seated familial discord and personal grievances, set the stage for the tragic events that would soon unfold within the Kambari family. Sanghamithra's extensive education in agricultural science had provided her with a profound understanding of pesticides and toxins. This knowledge became a lethal tool on the night of September 19th, when she initiated her grim scheme. Sangha clandestinely mixed a potent toxin into the evening meal of her in-laws Shankar and Vijaya, setting the stage for the tragic series of events that would soon unfold. Within a few days, the toxic effects were evident, and both Shankar and Vijaya succumbed to the poison. Emboldened by the success of her initial actions, Sanghamitra did not cease her deadly campaign. She continued to administer the same poison to other family members, her husband Roshan, his brothers Sagar, and his sisters Kamal and Varsha. One after another, they began to exhibit severe health issues as the toxin took effect. By mid-October, the poison manifested its lethal potency, confirming Sangha's horrifying intent. The symptoms presented by the victims mimicked those typically associated with multiple organ failure, aligning with the initial medical diagnoses. Over the next 20 days, Sangha and her aunt Roja methodically executed their plan, resulting in the deaths of 5 family members. However, not all targeted individuals succumbed to their sinister plot. Sagar and the family driver, Rakesh, survived thanks to timely medical intervention. The inclusion of the family driver, Rakesh, in the plan raises questions about Sangha's motives. Rakesh was not a family member, but became an inadvertent participant in the tragic sequence. As Shankar and Vijaya were being transported to the hospital, Sangha, under the guise of concern, provided them with a water bottle for the journey. Unbeknownst to them, and tragically for Rakesh, the water was laced with poison, intended to ensure the effectiveness of her plot. Rakesh's unexpected consumption of the poisoned water marked him as an unintended casualty of Sangha's ruthless strategy. As he fell ill, the true nature of his symptoms went unrecognized for some time. This oversight nearly cost him his life, highlighting the indiscriminate danger of Sangha's actions. The dark truth eventually surfaced through a thorough police investigation which uncovered the deliberate nature of the deaths. It became clear that these were not accidents but premeditated acts of murder. Sangamitra's specialized knowledge of toxic substances, combined with her calculated approach to the murders, solidified her culpability. The revelation of the poisoning reached the hospital where the surviving family members were being treated, sending shockwaves through the medical staff and the remaining Kambari family. The knowledge that their suffering was the result of intentional acts of a trusted family member added a profound layer of betrayal and horror to their grief. The involvement of Senga's aunt, driven by a vendetta rooted in greed, only deepened the chilling impact of this case, leaving the community and the family grappling with the magnitude